my
And
gosh.
you know what bothers me. Justin, I don't know how you feel about it, but
Okay.
I hate being called boss. I, I hate it. I hate being called boss. I hate being called chief. Uh let's see. I was looking up one. There was this one thing I had seen, like somebody had did this like analysis of why certain age groups are more likely to call you boss than chief, and like it's kind of like a respect thing, but then like a kind of like where they like when they grew up, and then also like like I'm not like old, so it's like it may be weird for somebody to call me like sir, so then it's still like to be like a like respectful like salutation. One of the best questions, because somebody asked why do people call me boss uh, on Reddit, and one answer was, you're probably so badass you yourself do not know how much of a badass you are, and that's why. And then somebody else responded, maybe you run shit. So
Maybe you're a boss.
Maybe you're a boss.
Yeah.
I don't
You
know.
just give that boss aura.
But this is a very common thing that people do not like being called boss.
I always associated being called boss, or like someone calling someone else boss, to like the shoe cleaners at the mall when they're trying to get your attention, and you're like walking by and they're like, hey, yo, boss, let me like clean up your shoes. I've always associated it with that.
The
but
guys at Foot Locker will call you boss a lot. I don't know what it is about the shoe industry that like leads you to being called boss a lot. Yeah, but the shoe industry is big on calling their customers boss.
It's in their handbook. What about buddy? Okay, buddy.
So like there was a thing, because I was reading in like that like it wasn't buddy, but chief is another one that like can even come off more like demeaning than boss. We're like boss, like I'm trying to be respectful, but like chief can almost come off like comical with it. This one article, there's like a Men's Health article about it, like that boss can also be a form of manipulation. A lot of initial language when strangers meet has to do with establishing positions with one another. This is from a New York Times bestselling author on persuasion. Calling somebody boss can be interpreted by somebody as ironic, but if it's not, it's actually great, because it puts them in a state that behavioral economists call cognitive ease, and that makes them more persuadable, which may be why we see a lot more in the sales industry of calling people boss.
Foot Locker's got it on lock then.
Yeah.
Foot
Locker is reading that book.
Yeah.
Front to back.
Car dealerships, they do that too.
I was about to say, I was like, car dealership or like real estate people are always calling people boss.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't call women boss, but
okay. All right. It's just but it goes on to say, a salesperson calling you boss implies that you have more agency than you actually have. They're saying, I'm totally going to manipulate this guy, but make him think he's in charge. And it can be a way of saying, yeah, you're my boss technically, but by stating that awareness first, I'm the one expressing power here. And that's the mocking part of it. And I guess maybe that's one thing that bugs me about it, because it's like, I know I'm not your fucking boss, and I don't know. But I do think that probably is part of it, of the psychiatry of it, of like, oh, like, especially for salespeople, making you feel like you're in charge.
Yeah.
For sure, it has to be that.
Well, how do you feel though, Justin? Like when you go and someone's like, oh, hey, boss, what's going on?
I think I've only been called boss a handful of times, but yeah, I don't think I have hard feelings about it, but definitely it's a little annoying, a little weird, because it stuck out to me. I can even remember the last time that it happened.
When was it? Share.
It was in Vegas. It was just this dude in Vegas who kept on calling us boss. And I was like, all right, really? You need to say it more than once, like in this conversation? Like,
yes,
there's multiple times in the conversation. So,
like, hey, yo, pause.
Yeah, it was like after every, all right, boss, all right, what? And what about this, boss? It's like, all right, let's calm it down a little bit. So
easy,
the fact that it stuck out, like, and I can remember that, and it was so long ago. I guess it does annoy me.
It's just like, it's also just feels so cheesy to me, I guess, is part of the thing. Like, it just is like, I don't know, like, hey boss, what's going on? Like,
You think it'd be better if someone called you sir? Or would you feel offended
At least
because
that
you feel
feels
like
I'd rather be
formal.
called bro, like at a store.
Hey, sup, bro?
Yeah,
sup, bro?
I'd rather be called bro, like, hey, what's up, bro? Like, and it's also, I think there is something to it no matter what you're called. But like Justin said, when someone starts just saying it excessively to you, so even if they're like, hey bro, what's come on? Like, bro, you looking in the game these shoes? Like, hey bro, you want those new bronze? Like, what's going on, bro? Like, what size you, bro? I can go get your size, bro. Like,
Yeah,
It
it
just it
starts.
sticks out.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's the two, like, you're like, I get like that maybe they are trying to make me feel comfortable, but it's just too much that it just starts to irritate me. There was
Yeah.
something I always, like, me and Yami always joke about, and I couldn't find what it was from, but it was like, hey, don't call me boss. Don't it was this guy who was talking about, like, someone
It's
calls
a
him boss, be like, don't call me
it's a
boss
Dane
chief.
Cook bit.
That's what I thought it
Yeah.
was. I couldn't find
Yeah.
it though.
Yeah, it's from one of his earlier like specials. I remember this whole thing, and then it escalates all the way to him going like well, don't call me Chief Gaylord or something like
Yeah.
that. Like
I think where we also might have heard it too was used to listen to a prank podcast.
Yes.
And I think someone called him boss, and then he was like, "Don't call me boss, chief."
Yes, that is also it. That is also it, Yami. Thank you. And I was a big Dane Cook fan. He still owes me a picture in front of the Laugh Factory. But it's okay.
Are you gonna get that though?
I don't know. I don't think so.
oh,
No,
it's
I
the
went
chicken sandwich.
yeah, I just saw that right now. Yeah, I couldn't find it, but yeah, I don't know. It always bugs me, and it's like that. It's always like comical to me when someone's, hey, it was a boss, especially when they say like super serious too.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I wonder if
Yeah.
like those people who use it so repeatedly I'm pretty sure someone has probably said, "All right, like don't call me boss,"
All right,
you
boss,
know?
listen.
but I feel like that's just like such an aggressive move. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. It does bother me, but like I don't know.
Yeah.
I can
Like
ignore
Justin was probably ordering a Fat Tuesday in Vegas, and he didn't have to be called boss 10
20
times to
times.
just just to tell them that he wants the blue raspberry Fat Tuesday.
Yeah.
Like he did not need to get called boss 20 times for that.
Yeah. I mean, there's just
At a
certain
gift
things.
shop actually, which is just as bad.
Yeah.
A gift shop.
That's probably worse.
That's
No
probably
alcohol
worse than
involved.
a Fat Tuesday. You want this keychain, boss?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh man.
Yeah. I don't know. It drives me wild. I mean, not enough to actually say anything. I mean, this is like a whole nother like topic thing, not necessarily to get into, but like in some ways, I really don't care what somebody calls me. Like, as long as I guess you're not cussing at me, like, and even then depends how bad it is. But it annoys me, and it'll be an internal thing that I'll be like, this fucking asshole, this idiot. But I couldn't ever imagine being like, hey, don't call me boss. Like, if anything, my mode is probably more to just do the Dane Cook thing and kind of start one-upping them and mocking them by calling them chief or buddy or bucko or
If you
Pal.
worked in sales, what would be your go-to then? Because I feel like sometimes you do need a word that's almost like, okay, sir, okay.
I mean, I don't feel like a problem with calling somebody sir.
Yeah.
Some people don't like that because it makes them feel old.
Well, boss makes me feel like you're a douchebag. Like, do you think like what's the alternative then?
That's true. That's true. I guess, yeah, you got to go, sir.
At least sir is like more formal, it's like it's the accepted formal like name.
Yeah,
So,
like it's a business interaction. They're gonna call me sir. Also, like I've worked like in retail environments and stuff, and I feel like if somebody's under a certain age anyway, like let's say under like 35, even probably under 30, like you could get away with calling them bro or something, or just like, hey, what's up, man? Like,
Man.
and yeah, and you know what I mean? And they're not going to be like, oh my God, I need to talk to a manager. Like, it's the older people who get pressed, like that are 40, and they're like, oh, don't call me sir. That's what they called my dad. Like, or don't call me Mr.
Yes.
Like that was my dad's name. Like they're the ones who have to get weird about it. But I feel like a young person's not going to be like, oh, what the fuck, unless they're just trying to be a dick anyway and go viral on TikTok or something.
Exactly.
But my 2 cents.
Does that happen to you often? That's what I was gonna ask. Do you get called bro or boss a lot? I mean,
Enough that it bothers me, but not all the time.
I honestly feel like when people have called you boss, it's been at Foot Locker.
Foot Locker, at sales, sometimes even at a restaurant. Like, hey, what can I get for you, boss? Like, I feel
true.
also
That's
like
true.
I'm not trying to point a
That's true.
stereotype, but
True.
there's a certain type of person that I feel like is prone to calling you boss, and just let that sink in, and you can probably imagine them. I'm just gonna say that. Picture it in your own mind.
We could take this discussion off the pod.
We're not gonna get canceled.
I'm not saying it.
A guy, it's a guy who's in a white and black
It is
t-shirt.
almost always a guy.
Yeah, it's a white
It's
and black
almost
t-shirt.
always a guy.
Almost like a referee.
Chicks don't
Almost
do
like
this
a
dumb
rep
shit.
shirt.
Yes. Yeah.
Almost like a rep. Well, I feel like it'd be really weird for
It's not even a racial thing. Like it's like there's multi races that will call you boss. It's like a certain type of guy that will call you boss that you can picture. It's not even like oh, it's just like this race of people will call me boss. It's like a type of guy that you can picture that will be prone to calling you boss. Chicks don't do this dumb shit. Like,
Is there a girl equivalent to boss?
is there yams?
No, actually, I don't think sub bitch, sub hoe. No, I don't think there is anything because I don't think chicks get called anything except ma'am.
So have you got called ma'am?
I think I've been called ma'am. I mean, it's not that like big of a deal, but I am like, oh, okay. Like I don't need to be in my mind. I'm just like, you don't need to call me ma'am. Like that's so formal. But I think that's the only thing, like for chicks, like just getting called ma'am. Because I don't, or if
Miss?
like you miss or Mrs. But then you have to know, like, okay, are they married? Are they not married? Because then there's
But you
people
had a
who get
boss that
offended.
you actually had a boss that would call you miss.
Oh yes, and I hated it. I hated it. She'd be like, "Oh, miss," and like I'm like, okay, like you don't need to call me miss.
See,
Yeah. So I
we
guess
found one for you.
Yeah.
And then
But
she
I
was
also-
like,
It's Mr. Mayoria.
Exactly.